Yeah, it's 10 o'clock. I'm standing up because I have a lot of energy and I just had an espresso. Lovely sleep. Okay, you probably all know XKCD. This is one of his drawings, fantastic. And it's about flowcharts and understanding flowcharts. So let's get started. I'm going to talk about the module, a module I currently maintain on CPAN called Workflow. I'm not the initial author, but I'm the current maintainer, so I'm going to give a short 20-minute presentation what it is and what it does. So, if you understand flowcharts, you probably just went through the XKCD thing. You have no problems understanding workflows, so just let's go drink, okay? So what is a workflow? It's a modeling and automation concept for processes, and especially a way to visualize business processes, or you could say it's a way to emulate and automate reusable software components, or in a more computer developer lingo, it's a state machine which can handle flow of data, which can be visualized, so actually people with ties can see what is going on. Or is it some sort of attempt at fourth generation language? I don't know. Read the Wikipedia article. It's very long and full of crazy words and abbreviations. So workflow, the module on CPAN, it's a framework. It can be used to implement actual workflows, meaning you can go from these diagrammatic types over to something which actually can be implemented and is working. Workflow on CPAN is primarily focused on exploiting the best practice of doing configuration over development, meaning that you take reusable components, shuffle them around in some sort of way which resemble the diagram you got, and you do some coding and then it works. Well, you have to do some coding at least, it's not just configuration. So, if you take a very basic workflow, it consists of states and actions or transitions. So you have a starting point, you have an end point. All the square boxes are operations, and these diamond-shaped ones are conditions. So they always sort of branch off, and these can be very complex and very large, depending on what it is that you want to process or what the process looks like. So what you have to sort of get your head around is what states are and what actions and transitions are. Because the problem is that often when we look at states in a flowchart, the states are actually the arrows. And they are not the transitions and such, because the transitions and actions are what's happening in the bubbles. So if you look at workflow on CPAN, our highest entity is the workflows, and you can describe these configurations either using XML or Perl out of the box if you download it today. You can even write your own workflow configuration handler. There's a tutorial in the documentation which explains how to do a YAML version. I've been tempted to just write the YAML version and put it in as part of the distribution, but that sort of spoils the tutorial. So it's there, and I think it's pretty good. Then you can write actions. That's primarily where you do your work, where you put your code. That's in the actions. That's the methods which make operations on the data flowing around. And in addition to actions, you can make conditions which decide how the code should branch and so on. You can write validating what goes into the operator, the actions, so you can make sure that your data is consistent and so on. Then in the end, you can write persistence. The CPAN module comes with a wide variety of persisters, and it's using DBI, so it does work on almost every database I would expect. But you can also write a file-based one if you want to. But there's also, you can write your own in, that might block your code. box, there's a lot of stuff. So this is an XML example. I'm sorry for all of the examples are in XML, but XML is pretty good for communicating data structures. That's actually the only thing it's good at, I guess. So this is a workflow. It has a type of ticket. This is from the example, which is a part of the distribution, so you can go in and find it in the EG directory and check it out. I tried it this morning and I found a bug, but it should be working. And I'll fix the bug later today. There's some test which has influenced the example application. As you can see, the workflow has a description and it has a persistor on the highest level. Then you can specify some states. That's stateful. This is sort of an RT system, a small RT like request tracker or a ticket system. So you have some states. It's you can create a ticket. It's in its initial state. That's sort of the default value, and the comment says the description says everything. And you can create a ticket. For that state here, you have from the initial you can create it, and then it goes into the state created. And from there you have several other actions, for example, edit, issue, and then you can have different actions for each state, and then you can sort of create a diagram of your branches, or the other way around. You have your diagram, and you can implement it easily. That's what workflow tries to do, like mind mapping wise. So here is the specification of some actions. So we have all the actions related to this, and we have a create issue. We have some fields in this action. A lot of the metadata about whether it's a mandatory and so on. And as you can see, there's some class up there called app action ticket create that points simply to a Perl package, and where the implementation of this is. So let's have a look. Is this font big enough? What about now?
Worse.
Worse?
Even worse. Oh,
I'm just pulling your leg. Come on, wake up, people. Okay. So this looks like a lot of code. And an action has simply an execute method, and it sort of tries to be object oriented. And it does a lot. Sorry. Too small. I'll keep my hands on the keyboard. And as you can see, it gets a workflow and it uses log for Perl, and it writes a lot of stuff in a log. It has context and it has some fields, and it does a lot of stuff. It creates a new ticket here again. Nice object. This is all part of the example application, which is a part of the distribution. So that's nothing really special about it. Here you can see it interacts with the persistor we specified, so it writes into the database the current state of this workflow. And it creates an history element as well, so you can go back and see what the route as a certain workflow took based on its context and parameters and so on. So this is the conditions again in an XML file. We have this condition specified. These are so this condition says that the user has to be the creator in order to meet this condition. So, and it's pretty basic. It looks at the concepts of parameters. gets the condition and evaluates it. So evaluates the workflow based on that condition. Pretty much out of the box. And when you have specified your conditions and actions, you have like Lego bricks and you can shuffle them around and reuse them in other workflows or use them in several steps if that's what needs to be. It's, as I said, is it some sort of attempt at a fourth generation language is that you write your components once and you use them everywhere. You can shuffle them around. So when the suits come every day with a new version of the workflow diagram, you just have to shuffle around the actual configuration of how the parts work. So the long march is actually getting all of this done, like all the configuration, emulating the diagram and getting all the code created. But if you get like the basic workflow up and running from end to end, from start to end, I look at it very much as some sort of a traceable development. Are people familiar with traceable development? It's a method where you say we need to get from start to beginning, and we don't fill in all the nifty stuff like error handling, validation, and assertions and stuff like that. It's just important that we can see that our workflow can go from all our program from application run from one point to another point to see like a proof of concept. Then we fill in all the graded details afterwards. That's traceable development. It's a very, very, it can be nice if you're like in uncharted waters with what you're doing, so you can fast see that you can get to where you want to. So it's not special for workflows or something. It's quite an interesting development. And I see it's supported very much in the way you could regard the workflow. So, validators. We had a validator here, and that's a part of the distribution. If there's a workflow validator, it matches state format, and it takes a parameter, but it says what this should look like. So if we go into see that it just uses a CPAN module to do this, and it takes the parameter which is specified in the XML configuration. So that's pretty basic. Hooking these things up is quite easy. Of course, there's the danger of losing oversight of your configuration files because these tend to get a bit big. And here is the configuration for a system with a class and some parameters which look very much like the stuff you know from a normal DBI stuff. So, workflow has had some criticism. It isn't particularly Perlish. Some say it looks a lot like Java. Perhaps it's because it's Chris Winters who wrote it. He's not writing Perl much Perl anymore. He writes a lot of Java and stuff. And there's not a lot of black magic in workflow. It's actually a very basic module with lots of lines of code, but it's understandable if you go through it. It's not as lightweight as other CPAN modules. We had one criticism was that I just want to write workflow new and then take it from there. And if that's what you want to do, I would recommend the class workflow on CPAN instead, because that's not the way we go about it. And yes, we are using patterns. If you read the documentation on workflow, you can see mentions of we use the factory pattern and we use the observer pattern in order to trigger the events. And you can do a lot of